Hi there everybody, how's it going? I'm Michael.
And I'm Tim.
And you're watching TMI.
That's the Tim and Michael Information Show.
Today we are going to be talking about artist intimidation. And I'm actually going to start with a little story.
Oh, lovely. Well,
so
crisscross applesauce.
So, I know, get your s'mores out, kids. So I was in high school. Actually, I was in elementary, and I remember an anime coming on TV, and recognizing that it was different looking, and I was like, why does this look different? It was Sailor Moon, and my dad said, oh, that's anime. I used to watch anime, and I was like, really? He's like, yeah, Japanese animation, Astro Boy and Speed Racer, and I was like, oh, cool. And then, you know, as I got to high school, then or junior high rather, then I found Dragon Ball Z. And anyway, I was becoming a fan of anime because I was like, look at this is awesome. And then I can talk more about that later, but as we're getting to a short story. So I got to high school, and all of a sudden because every time you go to a new school, you keep finding more people.
Yes.
You know, and all of a sudden I found people that were into anime, and I was like, this is awesome. And then they were like, what are you into? And I was like, Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, and they gave me this look. Oh. And I was like, what does that mean? Now, while I'm talking about things that I'm into, and then all of a sudden having this feeling of somebody not accepting you, it's a little bridge carryover, because I think as I went into theater, I realized that I had an easier time talking with people because people were just more talkative. And I know that sounds kind of but it doesn't
makes sense.
Okay,
story of my life.
But then I realized that some of the most brilliant genius minds are kind of, I don't know, not as friendly. I remember going back over to the art department, and there was an instructor there that, you know, because I did other things like music and whatnot, I remember what he told me. He said, well, to be good at one thing, you can only really master one thing. And I was like, I totally disagree. Anyways, my whole point is that sometimes you get into these little events, and one of them we'll talk about is where you feel unaccepted by peers or a group. You feel like you're part of an out crowd. And then the other one that I'd like to talk about is what happens when you are just being an artist, and even if you are accepted, you're just looking at work and it intimidates the heck out of you, or you feel like you aren't on a particular level, or you don't think you're good enough, and that sort of thing. Do you want to take that and kind of roll with it?
Yeah, well, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the looking at things that, let's say you're already friends with folks and everything, but you look at art and you just say, oh my god, I'm not that good. I can't be that good.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Like I said earlier, story of my life. I remember, this was actually less of a peer thing, but I got a great little book at Barnes & Noble earlier this year called, it was the Art of John Howe, who designed for the Hobbit films, for the Lord of the Rings films, and has done a lot of fantasy illustration even prior to that. That's how I got into that work. And I remember looking through this book and these rich, gorgeous illustrations, and yeah, at first my spirit's soaring because of how beautiful they are, and then I realized, I will never paint like that. Those are so good. And even without looking at professional artists, that happens in class all the time, where you just get this crushing weight. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah.
Where you think, I will not get to that level.
But how do you combat that? Because obviously you're still doing what you're doing, and you haven't thrown away the brush, as it were.
Exactly.
So what do you do? What do you do to combat that, or in that situation?
You know, I remember this happened a lot when I first started out. I think it happens to all of us. It seems like everybody in drawing class next to us is doing better than we are. And fortunately, having stuck at drawing long enough, I've gotten some pieces out that have turned out actually well, that I feel proud of. We saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea either last time or the time before. That's one I feel really good about. And I've had successes where I can say, okay, you know, I've made progress. I've come this far. I'm not to John Howe's level yet, but maybe someday I will be. Bringing it back to that Marshall quote that you brought up earlier.
I'm not as good as that person, but I can try. That helped me a lot too, because strangely enough, when you're talking about the weight on the shoulders, I used to feel that way all the time. Just, I'm not that good, I'm never going to be that good. But then I actually took a sewing class with Mela Hoyt Hayden. Awesome goddess of a lady. And she told everybody on day one when we were making aprons, and they can't work a sewing machine, how many times have you done it? And then I use that for everything. When I'm teaching somebody how to drive, how many times have you done it? One of the things that I think I've noticed is that the people that I've started to admire, where it used to be a long time ago that I would feel this weight on my shoulder and I would say, oh my God, I'm not that good, I'm never going to be that good. Suddenly, I just am excited to watch their work. And then the other thing is too, the minute you stop caring about being good, I think something happens, because I look at them and they don't really care about being good. They just work. And I mean, it's one thing, you just got to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. So I don't think you should ever shortchange yourself. So don't feel too discouraged. Don't feel like you're not going to get there. You can. You just got to love it. You won't play like Kirk Hammett, lead guitarist of Metallica, overnight just because you studied the tabs to Master of Puppets. But if you play every single day, 7 days a week, just a little bit at a time, by the end of that year, you're going to be a lot better. And it's all just on you. How much time do you put into it? So I wouldn't say that I feel down anymore about being better than that person, because I've been drawing a lot more lately, and I think I've been seeing the improvement the more I've been drawing.
As have I, definitely. I like that point that you brought up a minute ago about, the other artists that sometimes intimidate you don't worry so much about being good. They just sort of enjoy the process. And I think when you focus on being good for goodness sake, that's a quote, isn't it? When you focus on that, you kind of lose track of what you're really doing on. Are we trying to be good just to be good, or are we trying to create a really great quality illustration that will support this story or this product or this concept? I'm working on a series of airships right now for a project, and I could focus on, oh gosh, I gotta make these really great vehicle designs. These have to be vehicle design of the century. You know the feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to think about it and think about, okay, what am I trying to capture? How will this one support the story and the characters that piloted? How will this one support the story? How can I make this one different? How can I make them unique? And I'm making much greater strides that way.
Mm-hmm. But also don't do it too much. Just enjoy being creative as opposed to like wringing your neck. The other thing, because that's what it sounds like. The other thing is too, segueing off to that other group about just people who. I don't know. How do you feel about that guy who said what he said to me, like to be good at one thing, to just focus on one thing? And be honest. So do you think it just helps to focus on one thing, or do you think you can do a lot of different things?
Well, I think it varies from person to person. From a practical sense, first of all, let's just put it out there. The more you can do and the more you can do well, the more marketable you are. So if you're Michael and you can sew and draw and paint and act, then you're a pretty stellar all-around guy. And I've seen a lot of his work, and I know he does it all pretty well.
But I will admit, just in the year that I've known you and the year that I've seen your art, if I had as much time to focus on it as much as you did, I've seen what leaps and bounds that you've made.
Oh, thank you.
But you're to thank yourself, because you're the one who put all that work into it. So I think that's a good point. It kind of just depends on you. And to that note, I think I'd like to say, don't ever worry when you feel like someone's telling you what to do. It's one thing if it's an instructor, but if you have a good instructor, they're always going to put you in a direction or point you in a direction rather than tell you what to do, unless you're asking specifically, Jim, I'm colorblind, help me with this color. So, but anyway, they'll help try and point you, as opposed to, don't let anyone tell you how to do, especially if it doesn't set well here. If they tell you something, and you're like, well, I don't know if that really feels like what I should be doing. You gotta love what you do. And if you love what you do at the end of the day, then you'll never work a day in your life, which Sherry Stein of Art Institute told me a long time ago.
And I've heard that quote as well.
And so don't be bogged down by people if you just feel like, oh, find your own thing, and that's okay. Just do your thing, and don't feel the weight of your shoulders. Just get it off. And the other thing is too, because we talk about not wringing your neck.
Yes.
I think this art thing that we do, you should enjoy it. I mean, and you do your best stuff when you're in a positive mood, I think. Sometimes, you're really sad or you're really frustrated and you do get really good works of art, but I can't imagine making art that way for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely not. You know, it's all about, at least for me as a concept designer, it's all about storytelling and a passion for that.
Yeah.
And creating something really great. Everything comes back to that, at least for, I think, many branches of illustration, really. I think all of our, pretty much every project we did for illustration where we met, came back to storytelling. We're coming into storyboarding in a week now, which is going to be really exciting. And again, every choice we make, not just what characters are in the shot, it's going to come back to storytelling.
I just had an idea.
Uh-oh.
And I'm putting it on tape so we know. Look for in a future episode how your art evolves and if that's a good thing or not. Because I was just thinking when I was angsty in high school, who wasn't? But I look at a lot of my...
Angsty.
Oh, well. Poor you. But I look at a lot of my old art and I'm like, sometimes I miss it. But, whatever. But like I was saying, I couldn't do my art, at least with the mindset that I'm in right now, I couldn't do that for the rest of my life.
Right.
So don't be intimidated, people, whether it's by people who are giving you that cold shoulder and it's just your personalities clashing. Find personalities that you don't clash with. Find personalities that you like being around and do creative things and make you more creative people. And I think this is a sign language thing, and I think it's totally wrong. I'm talking with my hands too much. Dude. And
it matches your shirt.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. So I guess maybe if that's the place to end, just to be, come on guys, just, hang loose.